Good morning and welcome to the Covert Knits podcast. My name is Abigail Covert. I'm your host. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm coming to you from beautiful sunny Omaha, Nebraska, and today is Sunday, July 12th. Today happens to be my niece's 21st birthday, so happy birthday, Avery. I hope you have a great and safe birthday. So this is my podcast where I talk all about knitting and crafting and anything else that strikes my fancy. So I want to thank all of the returning viewers for coming back and any new viewers for checking out my podcast. Thank you so much for joining me. It really means a lot to have people stop by and leave a comment or a like or a dislike, letting me know that they're enjoying or not enjoying my content. I do this mostly for the community aspect of it. I want to get to know knitters around the world and other fiber crafters, so that's why I'm here, and it's always fun to meet new people. So if you feel so inclined, please feel free to leave a comment introducing yourself, and I try to respond to all comments as soon as I can. So it's been so much fun to chat with all of you. You can also find me on Instagram as @covert_knits, and Ravelry, if you're able to use the site, it's Covert Knits over there as well. So you can reach me in all of those places, and I love chatting with all of the other knitters and crocheters and crafters that I've met through the podcast. So again, thank you for joining me today. I always forget to say this, but the show notes are in the description bar below. If you hit the down bar, everything that I talk about is linked below. And I just want to take a quick moment before we get started. I do link to Ravelry pattern pages because as of right now, that's the best option that I have for making sure that people can find the patterns that I'm talking about. If you are unable to use Ravelry at this time, which I understand, I can only use it in short bursts, even with having the classic filter on it. So if you are unable to use it at this time, but you have a question about something I talk about, please feel free to reach out to me either in the comments here or through Instagram. Again, it's @covert_knits. You can send me a message or leave a comment, and I will be happy to give you any information you have on any of the patterns or yarns that I talk about today or on any previous episodes. So that's just my little FYI. I'm hoping that at some point Ravelry will get their act together and one, apologize, and two, fix the issues with the accessibility issues with the website. Sorry, I have a dog. He's barking. I'll try to cut that out. It doesn't feel like that's the way that they're going. So I am kind of looking around to try and find a way to post my finished projects in a different manner, possibly some kind of blog or something along those lines. But I haven't yet decided what course of action I'm going to take. So in the meantime, Ravelry is unfortunately the best option we have. So that's where I stand on that. Today, we're going to talk about quite a few things. I have tons of knitting content for you. I'm not sure what happened, but I knit like crazy this week. I have 2 finished objects, 5 works in progress, 3 needle adjacent projects. I don't have any stash enhancement to show you this week, but don't worry, in the next couple of weeks, I will have plenty because I've been on some kind of yarn buying spree. It's like I fell down and hit my head and didn't realize that yarn costs money. So I don't have any today, but coming up I will have some. I have a few knitting goals that I want to chat about for the week, and I think that will about wrap things up. Normally I talk about what I'm wearing, and I will talk about that, but it has to do with one of my needle adjacent projects, so we'll chat a little bit about that a little bit later. But just so you know, this is the Rift Tee by Jacqueline Cieslak. But I'm going to chat more in depth about that later on towards the end of the podcast. So let us jump right into the knitting content of the episode. I'm going to chat with you first about my first FO. Both of my FOs are the same pattern. I just have 2 different projects. It is the Frankie Hat, and the pattern designer is, I think it's Kelly Firth. I'm sorry, I'm going to look down and check my notes here. Kim Firth. I'm so sorry. Kim Firth. It'll be on the screen here for you, and I'll have put a picture up here of what it looks like. This first one I knit using an old skein of Madeline Tosh. It's their home base. Sorry. I should know by now. It's their home base. It's 100% superwash merino wool. It's a bulky weight, 110 yards for 100 grams. I use the colorway Optic. And this is the hat. This was knit on size US 11s. I'm not sure what the millimeter, excuse me, is on that. And did just a homemade pom-pom. It is just tied on at the moment, mostly because I believe this will be a gift, and I'm not sure that the wearer will want the pom-pom at all times. And also that way, if the hat needs to be washed, it can be removed. So it probably needs a little bit of a trim, but I kind of like the look of a homemade pom-pom. I love the fur pom-poms or the faux fur pom-poms, but a homemade pom-pom is, I don't know, there's just something endearing about it to me. I do use the Clover pom-pom makers. I have several different sizes. I'm not sure which size I used. I think it was just like in the medium. They usually come in like 2 packs. I think it was the largest size in the medium pack. That makes 0 sense, but that's what it is. Okay. Madeline Tosh can be kind of a problematic dyer. I do have quite a bit of it in my stash. It's all at least a year old, if not older. You can tell this is the old label, but I've kind of decided with problematic dyers, I'm still going to use the yarn because I've already spent the money on it. And I will always let you know what yarn I'm using, just so that you're aware. But if I know that the dyer has had issues in the past, and when I say issues, I'm saying that they have been homophobic, racist, bigoted of some kind, and called out on it and haven't appeared to change their stances at all. That's what I'm saying. And I know it's not an issue for everybody, but I really, truly do try to support businesses that are working towards equality for everyone. So if I know that a dyer, and sometimes I don't know, I don't follow all of the big accounts or anything like that, so sometimes I don't know, but if I know, I will do my best to let you know. So anyway, that is my Frankie hat, my first one. It is, I think it is a free pattern on Ravelry. So yeah, and again, it will be a gift. This is a holiday gift, so I'm kind of doing Christmas in July. I used almost the entire skein. This is all I have left. I could have made the pom-pom just a tad bit bigger, but I like using up as much as possible. So that was my first Frankie hat. And my second finished object is also a Frankie hat. Also knit on size 11s. This one, I love. This one fits a little bit tighter. This one is used Neighborhood Fiber Company in their Rustic Bulky, which is a single ply bulky base. In the colorway Pride, which was one of their colorways that they put out in June. I'm not sure if it's still available on their website, but every June they do a couple of Pride colorways, and this was one that was available this year on multiple bases. Again, I did the homemade pom-pom that's just tied on the inside. Here is their label. Neighborhood Fiber Company is out of Baltimore, and I use their yarn a lot. I really love it. This is all I had left of the skein. And again, this is also a holiday gift. So another holiday gift, which is hard for me because I do love this one. It's a little bit tight on my head, but okay. But that's the Frankie hat. Okay, so those are my 2 finished objects for the week. Now let's move on to works in progress, which I have a lot of. I have 2 that were started last week that you've seen, which I've gotten some progress on. And then I have 3 new cast-ons. So let's start with one of the ones from last week. It is being housed in one of my Lila Styles bags. It's a Gilmore Girls reference bag. And this is my In the Light shawl. In the Light is by Day-Crosier. And this is the second one of these I've made. I am using Leading Men Fiber Arts in colorways Envy, Rubber Ducky, and Nude Scene. Right now, I'm working on the section of all Rubber Ducky. Okay, sorry, this is a mess today, guys. I feel all over the place. Okay, so this is a shawl where you hold, it's a worsted weight by holding 2 fingering weights double. So I held the green double, and then I dropped one of the green and added some yellow and following the pattern instructions. And then now I'm to the point where I'm holding the yellow, the Rubber Ducky double. And it's an asymmetrical triangle. It has 2 options. It has a fringed version and a non-fringed version. This option is the one I'm making will be the fringe version. The fringe is knitted into it, so once I'm done knitting, I will then go in and drop some of these stitches to create the fringe, which is always a really fun technique. Let me see here. I said Leading Man Fiber Arts, but let me give you a little bit more information. This is their Show Stealer base, which is their 80-10-10 merino cashmere nylon. It's a fingering weight, as I said. So this is a really old tag of theirs. I've had it forever. Okay. Again, yes, I've made more than one of these. I actually have yarn wound up to make another when this one is finished. I love these colors. I'm a big Oregon Ducks fan, which I've said before, and you can't see it. Here's my Go Ducks. Put that up there. And I wanted a shawl in the Oregon Ducks colors, which are green and yellow. So that is that project. Last time I was still in the green section, or maybe just starting the green and yellow. I don't use progress keepers. They kind of annoy me. They're cute, but I don't need more things to spend my money on. So anyway, that's that project. It's gotten a little bit of work. It's so easy and very mindless. So it's a lot of fun to knit. I am knitting this for the Needles at the Ready podcast. Let's Hear It for the Boys Knit Along. The hashtag is NATR Boys 2020. It is a knit along that they are running to highlight male identifying dyers or designers or patterns written for male identifying people. Which I liked the concept of that, and Leading Men Fiber Arts is dyed by male identifying people. So that is my entry for that. So that is whip number 1. Okay. Whip number 2 is also in one of my Lila Styles bags. It's gotten a little dirty, but this is another Gilmore Girls bag. She does have other bags besides Gilmore Girls. She has Harry Potter. She has other fandoms. So if you are at all interested, you should definitely check her out. She is on Etsy. Her shop is linked below. Everything I talk about, if they have a shop, I try to link it below. This is my Wave of Change jacket by Denise Bayron of Bayron Handmade. And I made actually a pretty decent amount of progress on this. So here it is. I am using Quince & Co. Kestrel, which is a worsted Aran weight 100% organic linen. And this is colorway Ebb Tide. It's 508. So there's the yarn. It's kind of this tape-like yarn. So it's interesting to work with, but once you get going, it's not a problem. This is the second garment I've made out of this yarn. So this is the Wave of Change. I'm done with the regular increases. The next row I have to knit is the separation for the sleeves. So Wave of Change is a cardigan that was originally knit in a bulky weight wool, and then the designer Denise showed a pattern, a a version knit in this linen, and I had some of it and I bought a little bit more so that I could do this because I just love the idea of it. I actually have yarn up in one of those bins to do the wool version as well, which I'll be doing later this year, but I loved the idea of the lightweight linen jacket. It's slightly cropped, which I will keep the crop on this project. Normally I lengthen crops, but since it's a jacket and having already knit a garment out of it, I know that the linen kind of weighs down on itself and lengthens as that happens. It grows a little bit. So I'm just going to knit the cropped version and let it kind of do its thing. So this is being knit on, I believe it's US 10s, and then the ribbing was on US 9s is what I believe. The wave of chain, or sorry, the In the Light shawl is knit on size 8s, US 8s, which is a 5mm. Anyway, I'm really enjoying this project. I'm excited to split for the sleeves because this is over 300 stitches on the needles right now. It'll drop it down to under 200 once I split for the sleeves, so that's always exciting. I am knitting the 54.5 inch bust on this one. I want it to be a little bit oversized. Normally I knit closer to the 52 or 51 inch bust, but because I plan to wear this over things, I wanted it to be a little bit big. So that is my wave of change. I'm hoping to get quite a bit of work done on this one this week. So that is that project. That is whip number 2. Okay, whip number 3. I have this one in my bird leg bag, which is eggs on the outside. It's even got a little egg there and bacon on the inside. There's her tag. I went to her Etsy shop and I do have it linked below. Oh, she also has a website, but I wasn't able to find the website. And I'm not sure that she's making bags anymore, but check her out if you can find her. You might have seen my little Leonardo DiCaprio enamel pin. That was a gift from my sister. A friend of hers made that. Okay, so in this project bag, it's so cute. This was my very first project bag that I ever purchased, so I love it, and it's gotten lots and lots of use. Sorry, I will talk about the project now. I'm knitting a Sockhead Slouch Hat by Kelly McClure. Here it is. And this is a free pattern on Ravelry. And it's made to use a skein of sock yarn that you might not want to use, or fingering weight yarn that you might not want to use for socks. So if you've got one skein that you just love but you want to show it off a little bit more, Kelly has the Sockhead Slouch Hat. I believe she also has the Sockhead Slouch Cowl, which I've seen being made. So she's got a couple of options. I have made one other of these, but I have several skeins of yarn in my stash intended to make Sockhead Slouch Hat. So it is a free pattern. You do about 4 inches of 1x1 or 2x2. It's 2x2 ribbing, and then you switch to stockinette for quite a ways, however slouchy you want it. And then she gives you decreases. This is knit on US, I think it's a 3mm. So I think it's a US 2. Not 100% certain on that. It's a 3mm is what I'm knitting it on. And this yarn is, I've shown it on the podcast before. I purchased it because one of my members of my Omaha Knit Night group had it, and I had to go out and buy it immediately. It's Marianthi Yarns. It is her 85% merino superwash, extra fine, 15% nylon. It is incredibly soft. The colorway is Kaleidoscope, and I think it looks like funfetti cake, and I'm not wrong when I'm knitting it up. And I could not be happier. This is the project that I've been working on during knit nights and family Zoom calls, and over my lunch break a little bit at work, because it's very, very mindless. And I can just knit, and don't really have to think about it. I don't have to count rows. I don't have to do anything like that. So it's a good mindless project, and I probably will, as soon as this one gets done, I wound up some yarn to do a second one. This one will be for me. The second one might be a holiday gift. So dropping things left and right today, guys. It is one of those mornings. The needle stoppers that I have are from Coco Knits. I purchased them at a local yarn shop up in Detroit, but I think you can get them on website. Okay. So that's whip 3. Whip 4. Man, guys, I have a lot to talk about, and this is going to be a long one. I apologize. Whip 4 is in my Diana Couture bag. Just got a button. So there's that bag. This is my Hipster Shawl by Joji Locatelli. We all know Joji, or if you don't, you should definitely look up her patterns. She's great. So this is my Hipster. That's what I've got done so far. I've done the first section of the crossovers. Next, I have to do another garter section, and there'll be one more section of double crossovers, another garter section, and then a final section of crossovers before the final. So this is a pretty popular shawl. It came out a couple of years ago, and I really enjoyed everybody's versions of it, and I bought yarn for it at least a year ago. This is Dream in Color Classy, and it's their worsted weight. You can't really see, sorry, especially not if I do that. It's Dream in Color Classy, 100% superwash merino, 4 ounces is 250 yards. I got this half price at my local yarn store because this is I think it's their old Classy base, and they'd switched to the new one. So they had 3 skeins on half price. The colorway on this one is Gold Experience. It's very orangey. It's a little yellow, but it's very orange. And I really liked it. So that is this project. It is knit on US 8s. It's coming along pretty quickly. It knits, because it's a worsted weight shawl, apparently that's my thing right now. It's knitting very fast. These crossover rows, it took me a couple of crossovers to get the hang of what she describes in the pattern to get that cool effect. But once I got it, it makes perfect sense. Those rows the 2 rows that it takes to knit the crossovers do take twice or 3 times as long for me as the regular other rows, the knit and purl rows. I'm sorry, my dog is very loud today. But it's totally worth it. I love the effect. So this is just something, I've had the yarn ready to go, in a project bag, and I wound it up this week and decided to get that cast on because I have a terrible case of cast-on-itis. And that may or may not be a holiday gift. I'm not sure. I haven't decided yet. I'm really enjoying making it, but sometimes I just know that it's not something that I will wear, but it screams somebody else. So in my, to me, that somebody else might really enjoy it. So it may go as a Christmas gift or a holiday gift. So that was work in progress number 4. My last work in progress of the week is in my Whimsy Stitches bag from Rick at Whimsy Stitches. I love this bag. This was the bag I used for all of my Pride Sockathon socks. I've shown it several times. The pin is Neighborhood Fiber Company. The Unity Rainbow Unity pin. The Yarn Ovaries pin is from Shelly Can. I did see this week on her Instagram that she did have these back in stock. I don't know if she still does, but she did have them. So check out Shelly Can. Again, she's linked below in the project or in the show description, show notes. I cast on another pair of socks. This is the pattern I'm using is a free pattern. It is by somebody. Excuse me while I check my notes. Sorry, dropped my phone. Okay. Sandy Turner is the designer for Blueberry Waffle socks. It is a free pattern. I've just cast them on. It's a 4-row repeat, and it's really simple to memorize. You can hardly see. I've just done 1 repeat after the cuffs. So those are my Blueberry Waffle socks. I am using Blue Moon Fiber Arts Socks That Rock, lightweight, and let's see if I can get the colorway is Let Your Love Light Shine. I said it wrong last time, so I wanted to make sure that I got it this time. So that's Blue Moon Fiber Arts. I am doing these 2 at a time, cuff down. I'm using 64 stitches on a US 1.5, which is a 2.5 millimeter. These are Addies. I believe they are a 40-inch cable. And I knit, because I'm too lazy to wind them into 2 balls, I knit from the inside of the ball and from the outside of the ball at the same time. I've kind of gotten the hang of how to manage my yarn that way. It doesn't look like it here, but once I'm sitting down knitting, that doesn't seem to be a problem for me. So those are just cast on. I just really wanted to have another pair of socks on the needles. Now that I've finished the Sockathon, I will not be knitting those quickly. They might be on my needles for a month or more, but I like to always just have a pair on the needles. So that was work number 5. Work in progress number 5. So let me take a drink of water. And we are going to move to needle adjacent projects. And part of the reason I'm talking about needle adjacent projects is because there are several knit-alongs this summer that I am really excited to take part in. And I have projects all lined up for them. I don't know if all of these will happen, but these are projects that I'm thinking in the next few weeks will get wound up and cast on for these knit-alongs. So I'll tell you the projects and the yarn I'm going to use, and then also what knit-along I'm planning to use them for. We'll see what happens. It'll be entertaining to come back and look at these later and see if I actually did this, but that's the plan right now. I'm being very optimistic. I'm in the mood to knit. I like to roll with it when that happens. So the first project that I'm going to talk about is I want to knit for the Quiet Queers Craftalong, which had been postponed but is now going forward. It starts tomorrow, July 13th, and runs through September 13th. And they have their own Instagram account, Quiet Queers Craftalong. I put their hashtag up here. It's QQC 2020 or QQC 2020 FO. The idea being that you use yarn or fiber from queer dyer or provider or a pattern written by a queer designer. So and they do other crafts as well. So if you're not a knitter or even a crocheter, they have added, I believe, sewing and cross stitch and embroidery, things like that. So check out their Instagram. So I'm going to knit the Kingston by Andrea Renee Knits is her Instagram handle. It's Andrea Mowry. We all know who she is. If you don't, check her out. Kingston is an oversized tunic, and I'm going to be knitting that. I have 6 skeins here of this beautiful wool. So I'm kind of taking liberties, and I'm hoping that this will count towards the craft along. So this is undyed yarn. It is 100% Romeldale wool, and I purchased this from the Foggy Bottoms Boys website. And the Foggy Bottoms Boys, I've talked about them before. I have purchased other yarn and products from them. They are a farm in Northern California, and they are run by a married couple, a gay married couple. And so this yarn comes directly from their farm, their sheep. So I'm counting this, to me, that counts, because there aren't as many as you would think gay farmers out there. I'm sure there are more than what I know about. I follow them along on Instagram. I have for a long time. I really love, they're an organic farm. It's interesting to me to see the different things that they do on the farm and all the products that they create, and also they sell wool. So I've had this sweater quantity since at least I think I purchased it sometime last year. I believe I purchased it last fall. So I am super excited. I have enough to make the Kingston tunic, which again is Andrea Mowry, and that will be my Quiet Queers Craft Along project. I'm going to wind up this yarn this afternoon so that it's ready for cast on tomorrow. I don't know if I'll get it cast on tomorrow, but that is the knit along for that. The next knit along is the Grocery Girls, who are a podcast. I'm assuming most people who are watching know that, but if you don't, please check them out. They're Canadian knitters, sisters, out of Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. They are running a Stephen West along this summer, and you can knit any Stephen West pattern. And I have actually never knit a Stephen West pattern, but I have yarn in my stash that I had planned to make a dotted raised shawl is the pattern I'm going to knit. And I am going to use this fantastic Enema that my parents so kindly purchased. I'm sorry, my cat is going to pull the cord off my camera here. So my parents purchased this Enema last April when they were visiting Paris, and I begged them to go to this shop for me. They did. They kindly stopped by. They tried to get back into the bag to see their dye processes. They did not let them. I'm so sorry, whoever was working that day, that my parents tried to do that. They're just inquisitive and very supportive of my knitting. So these are colors Yellow Brick Road Graffiti, and Grello, which are kind of some of their really well known. This is their Merino singles base. It's 400 yards, 100% merino. So superwash merino. So yeah, this will fade into the dotted rays. So that is the plan. That is what I'm using for that knit along. And this was always, since I purchased it, the plan was always to do a dotted rays. So that is that plan. That is the Stephen West along. I don't know that they have a hashtag yet, but if they come up with one or they share one and I do start knitting that, I will make sure to share it here for you. So that's the Grocery Girls. Check out their podcast or I know they have a very active Ravelry group. So the third knit along is the Suns Out Knits Out knit along by Jacqueline Cieslak. She is a designer, and the knit along is to knit any of her designs and post with that hashtag and the hashtag Jacqueline Cieslak on Instagram. I don't remember the exact dates, but it's coming up here for July and part of August, I believe. So she is the designer behind the Rift tee, which is what I'm wearing. I knit this last summer. I used Knit Picks Cotton in the colorway Creme Brulee. I love it. I did the V-neck in the front and the boat neck in the back. I'm actually going to recreate this in almost the exact same fashion. I'm going to still do the V-neck and boat neck in the back. Again, that's my project for this time. I'm sorry, it's going to be a little crinkly here. I have a sweater's quantity of Knit Picks, and let me pull this out here. This is also the Cotton, and this is colorway Cyan. It's a little bit bright. It's coming off a little dull. It's a little bit there. That's better. It's pretty bright. I'm super excited. I bought this last year right after I finished this, knowing that that was what I was going to make. So I have 8 skeins of this. I used just over 7 skeins for this last year. I had purchased 10, so I had quite a bit left over that I am intending to make dishcloths or washcloths out of. So I bought less this time. I'm hoping that my gauge hasn't changed that much and I'll still be able to get it completed out of the 8 skeins. So that is that. Suns Out Knits Out, Jacqueline Cieslak knit along. And those are my 3 needle adjacent projects. I know, so much knitting. This is going to be my longest episode ever. I apologize. I hope you guys have stuck with me this far. So the last thing I just want to chat about a little bit are my knitting goals. I really, really would like to get a decent amount done on the body of the Wave of Change jacket. That is kind of my main focus right now because I only like to have one adult-sized garment on the needles, and as you can see from my needle adjacent projects, I have 2 more that I would like to start. It's fine if they overlap a little bit, but I'm hoping to kind of clear one project off the needles before I start another one, or as I start another one. So that is my main focus, is the Wave of Change jacket. I'm really enjoying that knit, and now that I am knitting the body portion, I think it will kind of fly by. I'll still have to do the sleeves and the button band, so it's not completely done, but definitely my main focus for the week. I also would like to continue to work on the Slouch Head sock hat, just because Sockhead Slouch Hat, I never get that right. because it's an enjoyable knit. I have I have another skein of yarn already wound up for the next one, and I believe that that one will be a holiday gift, so I would like to continue trying to get some holiday gifts finished. So in that vein, also some work on the hipster. So those are my goals for the week. Wave of change, work on the Sockhead hat and the hipster, mostly because those are more intended for gifts or to get ready for gift items. And I think that should cover it for this week. Again, thank you so much for sticking with me for this entire thing. I had lots and lots of knitting this week. I'm not really sure why. I have some construction going on here at my home in the basement and the backyard, and that has kind of taken over my life, as any kind of home renovation does, if you're familiar with that. But for some reason, I was able to just sneak in a little bit of knitting here and there. And this weekend, I was house sitting for a friend while she was out of town. And I took 6 projects bags with me with 6 different projects, and I worked on 5 of them. So I feel pretty accomplished that I would work on one for a set amount of time or a specific episode of something I was watching, and then set it down and move to the next. And I really felt like that kind of kept my momentum going on my projects. So I'm going to maybe try and continue doing that this week. So again, now I'm just rambling. So I hope everybody has a fantastic upcoming week, and hopefully I will see you next week. Have a good one. Thanks. Bye.